We are now entering into the fall season, and so I thought I would recommend 10 spooky fall reading recs. These are in no particular order, and so without further ado, the first book on this list is Cackle by Rachel Harrison, and this is a witchy book. It is perfect for the fall season. It's cozy fantasy. Even her horror is a little bit cozy, such as her Such Sharp Teeth, the werewolf book, which is great. And then also So Thirsty, which is a vampire book as well. But this one I absolutely love and adore. A little bit about it, the synopsis. All her life, Annie has played it nice and safe. After being unceremoniously dumped by her longtime boyfriend, Annie seeks a fresh start. She accepts a teaching position that moves her from Manhattan to a small village upstate, and she is stunned by how perfect and picturesque the town is. I mean, and when you read it too, it's so freaking cute and cozy and adorable. The people are all friendly and warm, and her new apartment is dreamy too, minus the oddly persistent spider infestation. Then Annie meets Sophie, and she's beautiful, charming, magnetic, and she takes a special interest in Annie, who wants to be her friend. More importantly, she wants Annie to stop apologizing and start living for herself. That's how Sophie lives. Annie can't help but gravitate towards the self-possessed Sophie, wanting to spend more and more time with her, despite the fact that the rest of the townsfolk seem a little afraid of her. And like, okay, there are some things. Sophie's appearance is uncanny and ageless. Her mansion in the middle of the woods feels a little unearthly, and it might be haunted, and she does seem to wield a certain power, but she couldn't be, could she? Well, maybe. This book is called Cackle. What do you think? It's just a fun, uplifting, and great book with a good message about loving yourself and being happy with yourself, who you are, and not trying to create yourself in this image that someone else may possibly want you to be. So I love the message of this book. It's a great fall read. Okay, so next up, I have a murder mystery that I really liked, and that is The Apple Cider Slaying by Julie Ann Lindsay. Apple Cider Slaying is a cider shop mystery, so this is a series. I've only read the first one, and I absolutely love this. I love this one. It was pretty great. A little bit about it, I'll tell you the synopsis. Blossom Valley, West Virginia, is home to Smythe Orchards, which is Winnie and her granny's beloved 25-acre farm and family business. But anyway you slice it, it's struggling. That's why they're trying to drum up business with the first annual Christmas at the Orchards, a good old-fashioned holiday festival with enough delicious draw to satisfy apple-picking locals and cider-loving tourists alike, until the whole endeavor takes a sour turn when the body of Nadine Cooper, Granny's longtime grudge-holding nemesis, is found lodged in the apple press, dead. Now, with Granny the number one suspect, Winnie's hard-pressed to prove her innocence before the real killer delivers another murder. It's cute, it's cozy, it's a murder mystery. There are 2 cats in it. I like cats in books. They're not like a big, huge role in it, but still, you gotta have barn cats when you're on a farm, right? Mice. Little mice murderers. Anyway, it's focusing on getting towards this Christmas festival, but most of it does take place in the fall. How the descriptions are, you're talking about apple cider and jams and all this stuff, and just, it's got the vibe of a good fall read, and so I wanted to include it in this list. And I really enjoyed that one too. Like, I've read a lot of cozy mysteries where I'm like, oh, that was good, oh, that was cute, but I really liked this one. All right, next, after that, this is one of my favorite like haunted house books, which is episode 13 by Craig DeLuey, and this focuses on this like ghost hunter group that go to this paranormal research foundation place. This is like this big old spooky mansion, and you know, a lot of times nothing really happens when they go, and also too, like, no one has ever investigated this building, so there's all this history, there's all this like weird energy that's been poured into it over the years, because there was also this like weird hippie scientist group that was doing all these weird like mind experiments and stuff, and they just disappeared one day. And so this group is getting the chance to go and investigate it before it's torn down and then made into like some big fancy schmancy resort and whatnot. And what happens is kind of a crazy story. Like, so they go and they do the investigation, then they find out it might actually be really haunted, and then they find this weird door that's in this well that goes into this whole labyrinth, and like, it's got a little bit of that like House of Leaves vibe. And it's such a crazy book. I loved it so much. It's so good. It's such a weird, like, haunted house book. Haunted mansion at that. And so when I think fall vibes, I definitely think of, like, haunted houses and whatnot. So not every book in this list is going to be specifically like in the season of fall, but it's things that make me think of the vibes of fall. Episode 13, absolutely fantastic. I have a standalone review for that book too, so I can put a link down below to the video if you want a little more information on that one. Okay, so after that, I have a gothic witchy read that is also a little bit of dark academia as well, and that is The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. That is currently her newest book that's come out. It is dark and mysterious and eerie. It's part mystery as well. There's a lot going on in the book. Let me tell you the synopsis. So it has kind of like 3 overlapping storylines. You get the main character Minerva, and this takes place too in like, I think it's like the 90s. So you have Minerva, and then you have like the history of her grandmother, and then you have these other women who went to the college that Minerva's currently going to. So it's like the early 1900s, and then like the mid 1900s, and then like the 1990s. So you have these different time frames with the different chapters as you bounce around. So back then, when I was a young woman, there were still witches. That was what Nana Alba always began the stories she told her great-granddaughter Minerva. Stories that had stayed with Minerva all her life. Perhaps that's why Minerva has become a graduate student focused on the history of horror literature and is researching the life of Beatrice Tremblay, an obscure author of macabre tales. In the course of assembling her thesis, Minerva uncovers information that reveals that Tremblay's most famous novel, The Vanishing, was inspired by a true story decades earlier. So, during the Great Depression, Tremblay attended the same university where Minerva is now studying and became obsessed with her beautiful and otherworldly roommate, who then disappeared under mysterious circumstances. As Minerva descends deeper into Tremblay's manuscript, she begins to sense that the malign force that stalked Tremblay and the missing girl might still walk the halls of their campus. These disturbing events also echo the stories Nana Alba told her about her girlhood in the 1900s in Mexico, where she had a terrifying encounter with a witch. Minerva suspects that the same shadow that darkened the lives of her great-grandmother and Beatrice Tremblay is now threatening her own in the 1990s Massachusetts. An academic career can be a punishing pursuit, but it might turn outright deadly when witchcraft is evolved. This book is moody and dark and it's a nice book to get under the covers and read with a cup of tea, maybe some snacks, maybe your dog or your cat sitting by your side, or your bird, I don't know, next to your fish tank, or, just snuggled up in front of the fireplace. Okay, so after that one, we have a folk horror called Smother Moss by Alyssa Alluring, and this one takes place in Appalachia, and there's bits of magical elements to it, and it is another just like atmospheric, out in the woods, strange read. And let's tell you about that one. So in 1980s Appalachia, sisters Sheila and Angie couldn't be more different. While their mother works long shifts at the nearby asylum, Sheila cares for the home and keeps to herself, even when enduring relentless bullying. Her fearless younger sister, Angie, is more focused on fighting imaginary zombies and creating tarot-like cards that seem to have minds of her own. Maybe almost magical. When the brutal murder of 2 female hikers on the nearby Appalachian Trail stuns their small community, the sisters find themselves tangled in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Angie discovers a ripped, blood-soaked shirt, money Sheila's been stashing away disappears, and a strange man tries to barter with a woman's watch at a local store. As the threat of violence looms larger, the mysterious ancient mountain they live on and their willingness to trust each other might be the only things that can save these sisters from the darkness consuming their home. Also, their grandmother tells them these stories that everyone always kind of chalked up to like her just making them up, or myth about like this boy made of stone and some other stuff that was kind of like folklore or myth, but might actually have some truths to it. And it's a really great folk horror if you are a fan of the genre. After that one, we have a nonfiction read that I really loved called The Lady from the Black Lagoon by Mallory O'Meara, and that focuses around the woman Millicent Patrick. And she is the one who created the creature from the Black Lagoon that was overlooked for a long time and not really given credit, because back in the day, women, didn't really get credit on this stuff and such. So Mallory O'Meara, as a teenager, she was super excited to find out that one of her favorite movies, Creature from the Black Lagoon, features a monster designed by Millicent Patrick, who is a woman. But for someone who should have been hailed as a pioneer in the genre, there was little information available about it. So Amira kind of like starts digging around and then finds out that Patrick's contribution had been claimed by a jealous male colleague. Her career had been cut short, and she was soon after disappeared from film history. And then no one knew if she was alive and what was up. So, as a young woman working in the horror film industry, Amira kind of set out to like write a book about her life, which is absolutely fascinating because there was so much more to it than her just creating this creature. Like, she was involved in doing stuff for Disney, like Night on Bull Mountain, Black Mountain. Yeah, like she was one of Disney's first female animators. And then Omira like digs into her history and finds out what happened to her. And like she did some acting as well and some other stuff. So it's quite a fantastic read. If you have ever been interested in knowing more about some of the women in horror, especially with a movie as iconic as A Creature from the Black Lagoon, definitely check out this book. It's well written, it's captivating, and absolutely fantastic. So also she worked on the part in Fantasia called Night on Bald Mountain. I couldn't remember it for, I was like, Night on Black Mountain, Night on what mountain? Bad Mountain? Bald Mountain. There we go. Okay, so after that, one of my absolutely favorite books of short stories where I like almost every single short story in this book, and that is Never Whistle at Night, which is a collection of dark indigenous fiction, haunting, eerie, weird. There are cryptids in these stories. There is the lore of the indigenous people. It is just so well written. All the authors in this, like their stories are fantastic. It definitely makes me want to dig more into reading more of their books. I've gotten into a few of them. And also too, like the title of the book. Many indigenous people believe that you should never whistle at night because it can call bad things to you. Bad energy, bad spirits. Who knows what's out there, you know? So this belief takes many forms. The stories are original and they introduce readers to ghosts, curses, hauntings, monstrous creatures, complex family legacies, desperate deeds, and chilling acts of revenge. Stephen Graham Jones does the introduction to this book. I also have a standalone book review for this that I can link down below too that gives you a bit more on like some of the individual stories in it, this, that, and the other, and I cannot recommend this one enough. It's so freaking good. All right, after that one, I thought I would include a strange hauntings. You know, you have haunted houses, haunted lighthouses, haunted bridges. How about a whole freaking street that's haunted? Okay, so that is The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Kist. And this book is weird and wondrous and emotional and just, it was such a great haunted book. One day I'm going to put together a top 10 of like weird hauntings. I don't have enough yet to do it that like I want them to be books I really loved. But when I do, I'm going to do a top 10 weird hauntings because this one was super weird. Like it's a whole freaking street. Like another one I thought was super weird was Oracle by Thomas Olde Huvolt. That's like this weird old haunted ship. So, but anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let me tell you about The Haunting of Velkwood. Okay, so the Velkwood vicinity was a topic of occult theorists, tabloid one-hour documentaries, and even some pseudo-scientific investigations as the block of homes disappeared behind a near impenetrable veil that only 3 survivors could enter, and only one has in the past 20 years until now. Talitha Velkwood has avoided anything to do with the tragedy that took her mother and her 8-year-old sister, drifting from one job to another, never settling anywhere with anyone, feeling as trapped by her past as if she was still there in that small town she so desperately wanted to escape from. When a new researcher tracks her down and offers to pay her to come back to enter the vicinity, Talitha claims she's just doing it for the money. Of all the crackpot theories over the years, no one has discovered what happened that night that Talitha, her estranged former best friend Brett, and Grace when they escaped their homes 20 years ago. So will she finally get the answer she's been looking for all these years, or is this just another dead end? And it's, like I said, it's dark, it's eerie, it's gritty, it's sad, it's emotional, it's so many things, and it's such a great haunting, and it's super weird, and I loved all of that about it. So how about another haunted house? The September House by Carissa Orlando. Also a weird and kind of off the rails haunting that I really enjoyed. Also another one that's kind of super sad and emotional and heartbreaking and effed up. And this one too, I think was this author's debut, which was quite a banger for her debut. When Margaret and her husband, Hal, they buy this beautiful large Victorian house on Hawthorne Street. And it's for sale at this surprisingly reasonable price. They couldn't believe they finally had a home of their own. Well, the real estate person did tell them that it was a murder house. They chose to ignore that, so they knew this going in. And then they discovered the hauntings may actually be real. Every September, the walls drip blood. The ghosts of the former inhabitants appear, and all of them are terrified that something lurks in the basement. Like the ghosts are afraid of this other ghost that's in the basement that's like, seems like pure evil. While most people would flee, Margaret is not most people. She is staying to her house, but after 4 years, Hal can't take it anymore, and he leaves abruptly. He's not returning calls, and their daughter Catherine, who knows nothing about the hauntings, arrives, intent on looking for her missing father. To make things worse, September has just begun, and with every attempt Margaret and Catherine make at finding Hal, the hauntings grow more harrowing, and because there are just some secrets the house needs to keep. Okay, and so what's funny and sad at the same time is like Margaret doesn't tell her daughter about the hauntings. So she tries to hide it. And she has this one ghost, Frederica, who was the former maid of the man who owned the house. And when September rolls around, Frederica starts like doing weird stuff like stacking all the furniture in the middle of the room, or like she'll take all the kitchen dishes and put them in the bathroom or something. And so her daughter keeps finding stuff like this, like the furniture all stacked up or the dishes in the bathroom or whatever. These are just examples. I'm not saying these are the exact things that happen, but stuff like that. And so the daughter starts to think her mom has dementia. And then eventually when her mom like maybe starts to try to tell her about the haunting, like she obviously doesn't believe it until maybe she'll eventually see it herself. And that's why it's sad. It's heartbreaking. There's just so much darkness in it, and it's so effed up, but it's a really great haunted house story. Okay, so after that, I felt like I should include a classic in the horror genre, of course, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. And this just has that eerie, weird, dark, gothic vibe that is definitely gives that spooky fall feeling for sure. If you haven't read any Shirley Jackson, well, you definitely should, and this would be a good one to check out. It's not super long, so it tells the story of Mary Cat and her sister, their family's dark secret, and it's a twisted tale that is creepy and gothic and strange, especially if you like classic books. This is a classic in the horror genre and is definitely one you should check out if you haven't had the chance to read it yet. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I haven't read a whole lot of Shirley Jackson, and I know I need to read more. I haven't read The Haunting of Hill House, and I have read the short story The Lottery, but that's about all I've read of Shirley Jackson so far, and I definitely need to read more. But I really enjoyed this one and thought this would be a good one to add to this list. What are some of the books you're going to be getting into this fall that are spooky? Let me know down in the comments. I'm always curious to hear what you're reading, and if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.